Okay, so this morning we were woken up by air raid sirens, but from what I understand, nothing has happened here in Lviv. So it could have been a drill or just keep people on alert. But a lot of the neighbors went to the parking garage early morning. Apparently, I slept through it, so I don't know what to think. But yeah, everything seems much calmer than yesterday. I'm just going to come up here and check out the traffic. Yesterday there was like a huge traffic jam. I think people were trying to drive to Poland or something. But like I said, yesterday the cars were just one person, two person. Didn't see many cars with suitcases or belongings or, cars with luggage racks. I didn't see any luggage packed on top. So I don't know what that was. Maybe it was people coming into Lviv from outside. This city is considered, like, relative to the rest of Ukraine, kind of a sanctuary. So a lot of people are here. The government is here. The embassies are here. So yeah. So this is like the day after, 2 days after military operations began. So I have a opinion about all of this martial law stuff. So yeah, here's the roads. It's pretty quiet. I think, we have kind of a martial law going on or something, so people are not going to work, which I kind of have an opinion about. Life needs to go on. And, when you're at war, the soldiers are fighting, and the soldiers, need, food, supplies, salary, everything. So that's our job as, like, residents or citizens, to keep working and paying our taxes so we can fund the war effort. If we all, just freeze up and don't go to work, that's the equivalent of, like, the enemy going behind enemy lines and cutting off the supply. If they're, so you're giving in. If you're not working and not going on with your everyday life, you're letting them win. That's just my thought. I mean, maybe it's an unpopular view, but I decided to stay. I actually came last week, and I'm staying. I bought an apartment here, and this is my home, so I'm not going anywhere. So. But I think this is what's happening today. We got the Russians in two airports in Kiev, and they're using those airports to stage landing operations. So Russian special forces, I think, seized the airports, and then now they're landing, the bigger infantry units, and they're going to do a siege on Kiev. And I suppose, like all sieges, they starve out the city, and eventually, the occupants give in. That's in theory. That's not, maybe that won't happen. Hopefully the Stinger missiles and the Javelins and these game changers get in the right hands and are used in the right way, and make the Russians think twice. But I think the strategy now is to siege Kiev and then put in a puppet government. I mean, I'm not revealing anything that hasn't been said before. This is, I think, popular opinion in the media right now. And then they will take eastern Ukraine. But this is hard. This is like it puts them into a quagmire. I saw some article this morning that Putin might have bit off more than he could chew. And because it's one thing, for the dog to catch the bus. There's this analogy about dogs chasing a bus, and the dog, what does he do once he catches the bus? So, you have a dog chasing a moving bus, and then the dog actually catches it. Uh-oh. Then what happens? What happens next? So, I don't think it'll be very easy for the Russians to actually get the puppet government to work. I was telling a friend this morning, he was telling me, well, it would be like Belarus. I said, Belarus was like putting a 5-year-old into boarding school. Like, let's say a rapper like Eminem. If you got him at 5 years old and put him into boarding school, he would be pretty compliant and do what you say, and he wouldn't know any better. But Ukraine is like Eminem, the rapper Eminem, at middle age, like now. Imagine putting him into a boarding school and trying to indoctrinate him and get him to go along with the regime, after he's enjoyed all that success, and he's rapped and, has his own ideas. So I'm not sure how well the puppet regime will work. If they do install it, it would definitely be a mess. And this could be the end of this could actually, in a way, be the beginning of the end of the Russian Empire. They've got a lot of problems. They've got a lot of demographic problems. They've got China on their eastern border. What I understand is there's 40 million Chinese on one side and 40,000 Russians on the other side, and the Chinese have been encroaching and taking the villages. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Chinese roll into eastern Russia the way Russians rolled into Ukraine, in a decade's time, when they let that run its course. So, yeah. So my opinion is, the attacks here in the West, and the reason why I'm not so fearful, and again, this is not popular, I don't know, maybe people want to mob me or something, but the attacks here in the West have been in a town called Ivano-Frankivsk at the airport, in a city called Lutsk, and in a city called Rivne. There were some explosions this morning. It's unconfirmed. I just got the information from a friend. But there are military assets at those airports. Now here in Lviv, this is, I think, purely a civilian airport. This is, I think every now and then you see some transport planes there, and I think there were some helicopters there every once in a while. So if anything is going to get hit in Lviv, it'll probably be the airport. But it looks like there's a pattern emerging that they're hitting airports. I have a friend in Zaporozhye, another American who decided to stay, and he said that he heard sounds at a old abandoned airport like 40 kilometers away, but that probably had some military purpose. Yes, there were civilian targets hit, and it's sad and it's a tragedy, but it doesn't seem to be the overall pattern. It's not justifying what the Russians did. It's just I'm trying to find a pattern here to determine the level of personal safety. But here in Western Ukraine, it looks like that they're going after the military targets, versus civilian targets. In Kiev, I imagine maybe they're trying to go after civilian targets to get people to go against the government. It's kind of like it's a common tactic, World War II tactic, is you make life hell for the civilians and then they stop supporting the government. So, but I don't think that'll happen here. We're living in an age of internet and mass media and Instagram. So I think I'm along with the school of thought that Putin might have bitten off more than he could chew. Now, I'm a little disappointed in the sanctions the West is giving. They didn't cut him off from SWIFT. I mean, the argument is that might empower the Chinese alternative, that if they get cut off from SWIFT, then China's alternative to SWIFT will grow in popularity. But also I think it's that the Europeans, they're very dependent on gas from Russia and energy from Russia. And this has been going on for well before even 2014 when the first invasion came. And I don't know why they didn't do anything about it. Trump wanted to do something about it, and he was shot down, to punish Nord Stream and get Europe to buy American gas. Now they're finally realizing that, we are sending money to our enemies. So I hope that there's an energy revolution, like a sensible one, not the green one. The green one doesn't really work. Windmills and these things are only 10% solutions. We need more nuclear power plants. We need a lot of them, to take away dependence from gas and fossil fuels. Nuclear waste is a lot easier to manage. It's a lot more toxic, but it's like a block of glass. It can be made into like a block of molten glass and solidified. It'd be a lot easier to manage than coal emissions or old windmill blades, or lithium, old lithium batteries and all of these things that are incredibly toxic. So I hope there's a rethink on energy policy, and in the next 5 to 10 years we can have a Manhattan Project to get off of the Russian energy and Middle Eastern energy for that matter. If we're going to have an all-electric economy, we need to have a lot of electricity. Geothermal is viable in some parts, drilling down to, where there's hot water or, some molten activity and harnessing that heat and then using that to turn a turbine. I mean, they do that in Iceland. I think they can do that in parts of the US where there's some like volcanoes and stuff, or previous volcanoes or some hot stuff underground. But that technology could be developed, and I don't know why they didn't do this. They just went the easy way and just kept buying the cheap gas. And now Europe is all dependent on Russia, so it puts them in a quagmire. But that's kind of a longer-term solution. Ukraine could be held hostage, until they can collapse the Russian economy properly, for the next 10 years. I mean, that sucks, for those of us that bought property out here, Either one of two things will happen here in Lviv. Either these properties will skyrocket because this will become the new capital of Ukraine, and might be like a West Ukraine, and then East Ukraine would be like the occupied region, or this could all become like part of this new puppet government that that a lot of analysts think will happen. That Putin will put in some puppet government, and then all this property value will crash. It'll become incredibly bureaucratic and difficult for foreigners to buy properties. They'll probably tax us, especially if we're from a European country. Now, I'm Norwegian and American by passport. I'm American by birth, and then I picked up Norwegian citizenship later. So, they'd probably tax me to hell here, as kind of revenge or something, or to discourage foreigners to live here. So yeah, that's what could be coming down the pipe, but I'm just going to go on with life. I'm just going to live every day, be productive, pay my taxes here, buy stuff in the shops, and make sure that, that they're collecting the taxes on everything. You get a receipt. It's not like the old days where they write stuff on a slip of paper and then shove the money in their pocket. So, I mean, things are pretty above board, especially here in Western Ukraine, so we can make sure that the taxes are getting paid. But that's what we can do as civilians, as foreigners here, is to just keep going on with our life. Of course, be vigilant, and, stay safe. Don't live near airports, don't live near railway stations, don't live near military bases. They only have 200,000 soldiers to take a country that's the size of continental Europe. If you overlay Ukraine with Europe, it stretches from like the eastern side of Poland all the way to the western side of England, I believe, or to the western side of France. It's a pretty massive land, for 200,000 soldiers to control. So the only way that occupation would work is if they had some collaboration from the locals. And like I said, I think that's going to be hard. Like I said, that is going to be very hard after they've been free for 30 years. That was probably possible right after World War II, when you didn't have internet and social media, and there was only one newspaper and it was posted on a bulletin board. So things have changed. Even people in Afghanistan are watching Instagram and know what's out there. So that's a pretty big pill to swallow for them. And I think this Ukraine crisis actually, in the long run, it sucks now in the short run. I mean, although we still have internet and gas and electricity, we haven't suffered any outages. I've had more internet outages before the war, to be honest with you, because the internet provider here sucks. It's actually been a little bit better now, but I don't want to get on a sidetrack about that. But I think in the long run, this is probably the end of the Russian Empire. I don't see them able to digest this, unless Ukrainians become like Afghans and switch sides. But I don't think that will happen here. It's a different culture. They're close to Europe. A lot of Ukrainians have lived and worked in Europe, and they know what's out there. So, yeah. So, anyway, I'll show you here in Avalon. We got some cages for our garbage. Oh, I just have to show you this. So, I was complaining about that for the last 2 years. Our garbage dumpsters are all over the place, and now we finally got cages for them. I don't know, we could probably lock up some Russian soldiers in these things, if we catch them, but, who knows. So, yeah, so this is Friday morning, February 25th in Lviv, Ukraine, and I'm staying. I mean, of course, I have a contingency to get out if if there's carpet bombing takes place. But I was explaining to a friend this morning that I don't think they have enough to do carpet bombing. It would empty out all their supplies. So far, it looks like it's East Ukraine and Kiev, but West Ukraine, I think we're okay for now. And I hope this thing comes to a quick resolution. I hope that maybe Putin's inner circle, but I doubt it, turns against him, or the Chinese convince him to pull out of here. That is a lever that the U.S. could pull, is to use China to leverage Russia, because China does a lot of trade with America. So we could see that. Happen too. But anyway, okay, enough is enough. I gotta get back, get some breakfast, eat something. Just thought I'd give a report. So everyone take care, stay safe, see ya.